Hello and welcome back to the second lecture of how to train your building skills. This time it's about cities and villages and towns and all of this. How do you improve building those? Well, it's not really a how to improve this time, it's more like which ways are there to do. It's more tips and tricks because I certainly have not much of an idea how to really improve. There are some ways and tips, tricks, how to improve, but because I don't have this much, it's more like a guide this time. But like always, feel free to leave motivational comments or suggestions in the comments that when I come to the second part of this lecture, we have more to work with. So let's begin. I would say we begin with different ways on how to plan to build a city, like from the more loose ones to the more strict ones. The first one in miniature I will just show you is just like, hey, I want to make a building here. And it has to be a big building, so yeah, it's on top, that's nice. And oh, if I have this, I need a tower like here. Oh, and maybe some cool cliff building like here. And then you just, if you have enough space in it, doesn't matter, you just be like, maybe a couple of small houses here. So the first way is like not really planned at all. You just build one thing after the other and it comes together as one big city in the end. And after you have built all the buildings you want, you just I had path block, I had a shovel, and no I don't. Then you just connect those things like okay, yeah, from this building you should be capable of reaching there. And of course you need to reach this place, and yeah, you just connect things, you just start loosely and piece by piece you just turn it into whatever you want. I would say the term village and town and all is pretty loose when it comes to Minecraft. For example, you have the one city that Corellis built in, I think it was Hermitcraft Season 7. If you look at the skyline, it's definitely a city with the huge houses, skyscrapers and all of it, and the bank. But then again, if you look at the size of the area, that's maybe a village, but that doesn't change that it is still a city because of the layout. And through this, I would say most cities or villages or towns in Minecraft are in actual life just villages, maybe a small town, but it still can be considered a complete city in Minecraft because the scale is a little bit different. Of course you can make real life cities as well in size, but you don't need to. And that ain't a bad thing because it's not so strict is what I want to say with this. But yeah, like I said, the first one can just be loose. You start with some big buildings, add some small, add some pathways or whatever you want to, feel free. It's just loose. You just start with simple things. On to the next way, which is right here. Haha, you thought there would be a cut. Another way, if you want to have it loose but don't want to really plan, you can just take a village. It's something a lot of people do. I personally like to do it. Just take over a Minecraft village and do things in there, like you just make the pathways all walkable. You just give it a defensive wall because it's nice to have villagers walk around, but they do have a tendency of hurting themselves. So making a huge defensive wall around it, making all pathways walkable so that they don't jump off a cliff. All of this is actually a good thing to do, and you don't have to plan that much. Of course, this way you mostly have smaller scale, so there's not a huge city, but then again, nobody says you're not allowed to make it bigger. You just take a road that you like. Where is a good example? Like here. And just keep going. And because you may change even the style everything is built in, you got your own houses and you just add them to the place. Like if you take this house and you remodel it to be a little bit bigger, to have more in it, then you add the road, you just add them. And or what else you can do is, if you have luck and have 2 or 3 villages close to each other, you combine them, and through this you make your own city or town. I will just from now on say city, it's pretty much interchangeable in Minecraft, but yeah, that's the second way you can plan your cities, even if you just take something that's already there. And to the next one. So the next way of planning for a city is my favorite way. You just start with roads or pathways or whatever you want to have for the size of your build for your city, and maybe you add a focus point, like I want to have a castle, or want to have this huge building, or I want to have docks because it's at the water. Whatever you feel fit. And after you did this, you just fill in the spots you created. It just gives you a guide. And on the other hand, because when you just make the roads, you don't perfectly plan for things. So you have sometimes areas like this, which you just need to fill in more creative. So if that's what you like, it's awesome, because how do I fill this space the best? I mean, yes, I know those areas. I want to have storage places. I want to have maybe some cranes, or what else, or some low income living quarters for the dock workers. Not sure about that one. I know I want to have a market that should be close to all of this, a crowded living area where I have huge space, more living areas all around. Maybe have a watchtower that watches over everything. Maybe something like a tavern or a military place and one of the exits. Maybe something bigger where a mayor can live, or a king, or whoever is the one governing that area. And then after you have the pathways and you have decided what to do, you just fill things in with whatever idea you had, because, well, why not? That's actually what you were going to do anyway, so why not start with it the moment you get the chance? So let's make this a beautiful little crane. It ain't beautiful, it's miniature anyways, but I think that helps to get the gist. And you just realized I leave a lot of blank spaces here, because, well, if that's the docks and where all the people are working, I don't want to have it too crowded. I want to have enough space for them to roam around and do their work. Other than when I say I want to make here this a more crowded place where people live still on the outside of everything, then of course I will have not so much spaces. Maybe some buildings do have space, like here, give them some backyards or whatever, then have just this place where it's just like those are all the same houses in the end. Like I said, a bigger area here. I probably am capable of doing what I intend to do. Yes, have this look like an entrance. And then just make it bigger, like here's the military that just watches over people. And like I said, give them some watchtower, because why not? Big enough to see to the ocean, to see over the walls and everything. A marketplace, because, well, the goods need to be sold. More housing, like I said, but this time it's a little bit more different than even with a yard again. And yeah, like this, you just make your city piece by piece and just have it be whatever you want. But it's just a small help, because you have a guide, you made yourself a guide, and yeah, like I said, area where a lot of people live, richer area. You can imagine it. You can imagine it. Probably I'm still going to do it. But yeah, this is like a good way to do things. I personally like it. I use this way of building in the town I built with Cherry on the SMP chat, because I just enjoy it. I just enjoy building this way, because you have a guide, it helps, but you're not stuck in. So when I said, I don't know what I said a couple of minutes ago for this spot, but I'm not stuck. I don't need to do whatever I said. I can freely do whatever I see fit for this area. So when I just now decided to, maybe with all of the people and all of this, why not make it like something of a wooden church? Yeah, why not? Because who's going to stop me? Nobody. So I don't have to follow the plans completely. I just made a loose plan to help me, to guide me, and for this I end up with something I'm happy with. Of course, that last version has some flaws into it, like you've seen right now. I forgot, what was that one spot? Anyways, I have another idea. It's a great thing, but then again, if you have a vision and it takes too long, you can forget things. But there's one last way where it's really everything's planned. You just block things out, you just take wool blocks and color code things, like, oh yeah, I want to have this huge field with rain and carrots on the outside, roads that go to a vocal point, like a castle, a cathedral, whatever you see fit. You say, I want to make low-income houses for peasants, for merchants, and for the really rich ones, the kings, queens, barons, all of them. And I want to have a structure where I say the further they live away from the vocal point, or you can say like this half is where all the poor people live, because some reason your world building depends on what you want, but you just plan everything. And in this way I was simplifying it by saying, okay, red, that's where taverns, churches, bathing houses, all of this are just red dots. Those are for special things, and wherever I let something be green, that's going to be a park, a place, whatever sees fit. And of course, that's just the miniature version. If you do plan stuff like this, in big it can look like this, like, okay, yeah, that's where roads are going to be, and this is where the houses are, and this is where other houses are. Probably if you build it with the rich and poor, you don't make them just a couple of blocks in between, then you make the roads wider. And of course you can go as detailed as building just boxes out of wool or whatever block you choose to signal where which building is and how it will look. You can just make the shape on the ground with wool. This is all up to you. Now in this case there are rooms between, so not room, there's room between, and you can walk those ways. If you go in more details, you can plan this out and say, wait, let's just take another color, because like I said, it's color coded everything, so you're like, okay, yeah, those will be narrow streets, those are narrow ways. Sometimes you can walk them, sometimes you are not supposed to walk them, so I don't mark it. And sometimes they add up into a back alley place like this, but you don't have to. You can mix and match all those ways however you seem fit. So, and you can go as detailed as you want to. Problem with that is, for me, if you go too detailed, then you can just build the house anyways, and then you end up with the first version, kind of, that you just build one building after the other without any planning. So if you lose yourself in too much detail in this way, you just end up without planning, because you just do one building after the other. But if you, for example, combine planning with color coding and starting with roads, you can just make them the main roads and then be like, I put some blocks in that area of that color to signal that this is a merchant district and this is this. I think a good example of what I mean by combining is Fripp with his Hardcore series, which is over 10,000 days, where he builds this huge medieval fantasy city, and he just goes one place after the other. So I probably think his whole thing is planned out, his whole city, his whole town, but he goes one area after the other. So he makes a detailed plan for an area when he gets there, and until then it's just loose, like this connects to this place in this way, and for this pathway it connects to the other place, and I want to have something like this there. When I come to it, then I make more plans. Until then it's just a coded area for how to do it. And you can combine all of the ways. You can just say, okay, I just make this building and this building, and then plan the rest. So instead of the first way where you just place some buildings and then combine everything after making more and more buildings, you can just say, okay, I want to have those buildings, I want to have them at this position because the castle looks nice on the hill, the storage area looks super awesome near the coast. And then you are like, okay, I want to make this into a town. Now I plan by connecting those things with roads, and I plan all the roads, or I just plan the main road to connect those things, and the rest is just color coded. So the planning, you have multiple choices. Best tip is try them and look which one is the best for you. But that's not all the things I can tell you to do. So another thing is, look at what makes a city, what is important, because most cities, towns, villages, they exist with a reason. Like, they are near water. People need water to survive, so it's a great place to have a city built. Or they just have a great overview over a place because they're on a hill. It's a good place to defend. You could say it's because something holy happened and the church was built there, and well, if there is a church because it's an important place, people go there, and when people go there because it's an important place, people settle there and the city comes out. You can say it's valuable, so you can get there, like gemstones are in a mine. Another way why you have a city at some place, well, if there's city A and city B, and people like to travel between city A and B, and the travel between city A and B takes too long, well, people need to rest, so why not build a place where the people can rest in between? You make money, they get rest, and well, if you get the idea, others might get the idea, and sooner or later you have a small village or town in between some towns, in between some cities. So yeah, have a reason. Of course, it's Minecraft, be creative. The reason can be just, I want to have fun, so I do. But if you want to improve, just look at reasons to have a city. Another thing is, like, this layout was zero planned. Yes, it gave me some interesting shapes, and I actually like that miniature city, but look at the layouts of real cities, towns, villages, because there are really different ways. There are some you just build where you could, and you see the streets sometimes look like chaos. Then you have those that are planned like with a ruler, where every street is a straight line and every corner is a 90-degree corner. Or you can have something, I think it's some Hispanic cities and some in France, where they have those blocks where the buildings form like something of a donut and they're all in squares, which looks pretty from above, so that's also a good thing to look. And like I said, with layouts, where do people place something? Like a market next to the docks makes a lot of sense, but what other places are great for a market? Or the watchtower, it's really far back. Yes, I can watch in this direction, but not so good in the others. Yes, it's high enough to see to the ocean, but if I want to watch over that, I have the docks. So what is a smart place for a watchtower? What is a smart place to have the army having their place? Depending on the size, what place is the smartest way? Like, yeah, do look at those things and keep going. But that's actually like all the tips, everything I have in mind, besides just trying and trying and trying. I mean, I can try and show you how I would go with something like this, how I would do it. I would just start with a focus point, like, okay, I want to have this building, it should be there. Then I will just start making some roads, and after that I would just fill in everything. So, you know what? Let's look at the time lapse of how I'm doing this. With that, I would say that's the end of the second episode, the second lecture. Like said in the beginning, it was more like a tips and tricks, things I keep in mind, different ways in doing it. Now you have to just try it out and look what's the best way for you. That's not the best thing, and I know, I'm sorry for this. So if anyone has any concrete tips and how to improve your city building without just the things I told you to keep in mind and try out, leave them in the comments. Let me know. Like always, I will try to follow those steps, try them out personally for the next time. Let me know what you want to see next. I would either go for terraforming or for decorations. Both are not done in the big city I built, so both can be done. And I don't know, if you like it, maybe leave a like, subscribe. You can always undo it. With that out of the way, until next time, see ya.